Right now, you might be holding just any dime. But what if I told you this tiny coin could secretly be worth thousands? Most people never look twice, but collectors are searching for these every single day. If you have a 2001 P Roosevelt dime in your hand right now, don't underestimate it for even a second, because what looks like an ordinary 10-cent coin could actually be part of a much bigger story that most people never notice. Every day, millions of dimes pass through hands without anyone paying attention. They're used for coffee, parking meters, vending machines, and small change transactions. People barely look at them. But the truth is, some of the most overlooked coins in modern US history are hiding in plain sight. And the 2001 P dime is one of those coins that collectors still study carefully today. At first glance, it seems simple. It was minted in Philadelphia, marked with the small P, and released into circulation as part of the Roosevelt dime series. It carries the familiar portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, and on the reverse, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength. Nothing unusual. Nothing flashy. Just a normal modern coin. But here's where things get interesting. Because modern coins like the 2001 P dime were produced in extremely large numbers, and whenever mass production happens at high speed, small mistakes and variations can slip through the system. And in the world of coin collecting, those small differences are exactly what turn an ordinary coin into something special. Collectors don't just look for age. They look for rarity, condition, and errors. And the 2001 P dime has been closely examined over the years for exactly these kinds of features. Some examples have been found with minor minting variations that are not obvious at first glance. These can include slight doubling in design elements, small misalignments in the strike, or subtle differences in surface texture caused during the minting process. To most people, these changes would go completely unnoticed. But to a trained eye, they can signal something much more interesting. Because in coin collecting, perfection and imperfection both matter in different ways. A perfectly struck, flawless coin in mint state condition can be highly desirable on its own. But a coin with a rare mint error or unusual variation can become even more valuable because it breaks the standard pattern. It becomes something different from the millions of identical pieces produced. And that difference is where value begins. The 2001 P dime is especially interesting because it comes from a relatively modern era of coin production, which means many people assume it has no collectible value. But collectors know better. Modern coins are actually one of the fastest growing areas in numismatics because they can still be found in circulation, yet occasionally contain rare mistakes that escaped quality control. Think about that for a moment. A coin that was made not long ago, still appearing in pocket change, could potentially hold a secret that most people have never noticed. That is what keeps collectors constantly searching through rolls of coins, old jars, and bank bags. Condition also plays a major role here. A 2001 P dime that has never been used in circulation, showing full original mint luster and sharp details, can be far more desirable than a worn example. Collectors often refer to these as mint state coins, and the difference in appearance alone can dramatically affect interest and demand. Now imagine combining both factors, a high-grade 2001 P dime with a rare mint variation. That is where things become truly exciting for collectors. Even though most examples are still worth only face value, exceptional pieces can attract strong attention in the collector market, especially from people building high-grade Roosevelt dime sets or searching for unusual mint errors. Over the years, coin enthusiasts have reported finding interesting 2001 P dime examples in circulation, especially in bankrolls and older stored change collections. While not every coin holds value beyond 10 cents, the possibility of discovering something unusual is always there. And that possibility is what keeps the search alive. Because in the world of coins, rarity is not always about age. Sometimes it is about timing, production quirks, and whether a small mistake escaped millions of inspections before entering circulation. And that is exactly why people still check modern coins like the 2001 P dime so carefully. It represents a simple idea with a powerful truth. Even in a highly controlled minting process, nothing is ever completely perfect. Now think about how many of these coins exist in the world. Millions were released into circulation. Many have been lost, spent, stored, or forgotten. Out of all those coins, only a tiny fraction might show anything unusual, and even fewer might survive in excellent condition today. That is what makes the search so exciting. Because every coin you see has a story, even if most of them are ordinary. And sometimes, the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is something so small that it requires patience, attention, and curiosity to notice. So if you ever come across a 2001 P Roosevelt dime, don't rush past it. Take a closer look. Check the details. Look at the condition. See if anything stands out. Because while most will be simple pocket change, there is always that small chance that you are holding something more interesting than it first appears. And in the world of coin collecting, that small chance is everything. Because every collector knows one simple truth. The most valuable discoveries are often hiding in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone patient enough to notice them. And that brings us to the end of today's story about the 2001 P Roosevelt dime, a coin that reminds us how something so small and ordinary can still carry hidden surprises if you know what to look for. Most of these dimes will always remain worth just 10 cents, passing through hands every day without anyone noticing them twice. But the real excitement of coin collecting is not just what is valuable today, it is what could be valuable tomorrow when the right detail, the right condition, or the right era is finally discovered. So the next time you see a 2001 P dime, don't treat it like just pocket change. Look at it carefully, because even modern coins can sometimes hold secrets that turn an ordinary moment into something special. And if you enjoyed this video, stay tuned, because there are many more hidden coins, rare finds, and surprising stories waiting for you to discover next. If you have a 1980p dime sitting in your pocket right now, stop for a moment, because what you're holding might be far more interesting than just 10 cents. Most people don't even look at dimes. They pass through hands every day, used for small purchases, dropped into jars, or forgotten in drawers. But every once in a while, a coin that looks completely normal turns out to carry a hidden story that collectors around the world chase for years. This is exactly what makes the 1980p Roosevelt dime so fascinating. At first glance, it looks ordinary. It was minted in Philadelphia, marked with a small P, and produced in massive quantities for circulation across the United States. Millions of people used it in daily life, and most of them never gave it a second thought. It carries the familiar portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a symbol of leadership and resilience, and on the reverse, the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, representing liberty, peace, and strength. Nothing about it screams rarity. Nothing about it suggests value beyond 10 cents. And yet, in the world of coin collecting, the most dangerous mistake is assuming that common always means worthless. Because the truth is, the 1980p dime has a hidden side that only reveals itself under careful inspection. While most examples are indeed common, certain rare varieties and minting anomalies have turned a simple pocket coin into something collectors actively search for. And this is where the story becomes interesting. During the early 1980s, the US Mint was producing coins at extremely high speed to meet demand. When production increases, quality control can sometimes become inconsistent. And whenever small imperfections slip through, they can create rare collectible varieties that survive unnoticed in circulation for decades. Some 1980p dimes are known to show slight doubling in the design, especially around the lettering or torch details. Others may have subtle strike differences, where the design appears weaker or shifted slightly from normal alignment. There are also coins that show unusual surface characteristics caused by the minting process, creating varieties that experienced collectors recognize immediately. To an average person, these differences might seem tiny, almost invisible. But to a collector, even the smallest variation can completely change the story of a coin. Because in numismatics, rarity is everything. A coin does not need to be old to be valuable. It does not need to be gold or silver. It simply needs to be different from the rest in a meaningful way. And the 1980p dime, while common overall, becomes very interesting when those small differences appear in high-grade condition. Condition plays a huge role in value. A dime that has never been used, showing full original shine and sharp detail, can be dramatically more desirable than one that has been worn down by years of circulation. Collectors often refer to these perfect examples as uncirculated or mint state, and they can transform the way a coin is valued. Now imagine this. Two coins from the same year, same mint, same design. One is heavily worn, scratched, and dull. The other looks like it was just made yesterday, with sharp details and original luster still shining under light. Even though both are technically the same coin, their value in the collector world can be completely different. And when you combine high condition with a rare mint variation, things become even more exciting. Because that is when collectors start paying serious attention. There have been cases where rare varieties of modern dimes, including certain Roosevelt issues, have sold for hundreds or even several $1,000s depending on condition, demand, and rarity of the era. These are not everyday coins, and they are not found in every pocket change, but they do exist, and they continue to surface in unexpected places. That is what keeps collectors searching. Every coin roll, every old piggy bank, every forgotten jar of change becomes a potential discovery. And the 1980p dime is one of those coins that still gets checked regularly because of the possibility, however small, that a rare variety might be hiding in plain sight. Think about how many of these coins have passed through human hands since 1980. Millions upon millions. Used, spent, saved, and forgotten. Out of all those coins, only a tiny fraction might have unusual characteristics, and even fewer might still be in excellent condition today. That is what makes the hunt so exciting. It is not just about money. It is about discovery. And sometimes, discovery starts with something as simple as turning a coin over in your hand and noticing something slightly off. A detail that looks doubled. A shine that seems stronger than normal. A texture that feels different under light. These small signs are often what lead collectors to investigate further. Of course, not every 1980p dime is valuable. In fact, most are still worth just 10 cents. But the possibility is what keeps people interested. Because in the world of coins, value is never just about what is common. It is about what is rare, what is preserved, and what most people overlook. And that is why stories like this continue to spread. Because somewhere out there, someone will find a coin in an old collection, a drawer, or even loose change from a purchase, and decide to take a closer look. At first, it will seem ordinary. Just another dime. Nothing special. Easy to ignore. But then curiosity takes over. And that is where everything changes. Because the moment you start looking closely, you enter a different world. A world where small details matter. Where tiny imperfections become important clues. Where a simple dime is no longer just currency, but a potential piece of hidden history. And that is the real lesson behind the 1980p Roosevelt dime. It reminds us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes it is hidden behind everyday appearances. Sometimes it is overlooked for decades. And sometimes it is sitting quietly in a place you have already checked 100 times before. So if you ever come across a 1980p dime, don't rush past it. Take a second look. Study it carefully. Compare it if you can. Because while most will be ordinary, there is always that small chance you are holding something different. And in the world of coin collecting, that small chance is exactly what keeps the dream alive. Because every collector knows one simple truth. The next valuable discovery is always just one coin away, and that brings us to the end of today's story about the 1980p Roosevelt dime, a coin that proves once again that even the smallest piece of change can carry a hidden surprise. Most people will continue using coins without a second thought, never realizing what passes through their hands every single day. But now you know something different. You know that rare varieties, mint errors, and high-grade condition can completely change the story of a coin that was once considered ordinary. So the next time you empty your pockets or go through an old collection, remember this moment. Take your time. Look closely. Because history has shown us that valuable discoveries are often hiding in the most unexpected places. And maybe, just maybe, the coin you almost ignored could turn out to be the one that changes everything. If you enjoyed this video, stay connected, because there are many more hidden coins and surprising stories waiting to be uncovered. If you have this coin sitting in your pocket or hiding in an old jar at home, you might want to stop everything right now because what you are about to hear could completely change the way you look at everyday change forever. Most people walk past coins without a second thought. A dime is just 10 cents, something you might drop on the floor or forget in a car seat. But history has shown again and again that some of the most ordinary-looking coins can turn into life-changing treasures. And today's story is about one of those coins that looks completely normal, but has shocked collectors around the world. This is the story of the 2004 P Roosevelt dime, a coin that was minted in the United States for everyday circulation, meant to be used without any special attention. It carries the face of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, a man who led America through some of its toughest times. On the reverse side, it carries the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. Nothing about it screams rare, nothing about it suggests fortune. And yet, in the world of coin collecting, appearances can be dangerously misleading. The 2004 P dime was minted in Philadelphia, marked by the small P mint mark. Millions upon millions were produced, and most of them entered circulation immediately. People used them for vending machines, coffee shops, parking meters, and everyday purchases. And that is exactly why most people believe it is worthless beyond its face value. But here is where the story takes a surprising turn. Because within this massive production run, something unusual happened. A small number of these coins were struck under rare minting conditions that created subtle but highly significant variations. These variations are not obvious at first glance. In fact, most people would need a magnifying glass and a trained eye to even notice something is different. But collectors know that even the smallest minting error can turn a simple dime into a legendary piece. Some of these rare 2004p dimes are believed to show unusual doubling in the design details, especially around the lettering and torch. Others may have strike inconsistencies, off-center characteristics, or unique surface qualities that were never meant to leave the mint. These imperfections, instead of lowering value, actually increase demand among serious collectors. And this is where the excitement begins. Because coin collectors are not just buying metal. They are buying rarity, history, and mystery. The rarer the mistake, the higher the desire. And when demand meets extreme rarity, prices can climb into numbers that most people would never believe for something so small. Imagine holding a dime worth just 10 cents in your hand, completely unaware that in the right condition, under the right grading, and with the right error characteristics, that same coin could be worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. But the 2004p dime story goes even further. Over the years, reports from collectors and private sales have suggested that exceptional examples of this coin, especially those with dramatic mint errors or perfect uncirculated grading, have attracted extremely high bids in specialized numismatic circles. In rare cases, when the coin is professionally graded at top condition with unique error features, it becomes something that elite collectors compete for aggressively. And this is where things become almost unbelievable. Because there are claims in collector communities that a perfect storm example of the 2004 P Roosevelt dime, featuring highly unusual mint characteristics and flawless preservation, has reached values as high as $80,000 in a private or auction setting. Now, before you dismiss this as impossible, you have to understand how the rare coin world works. These are not everyday transactions. These are highly competitive bidding environments where collectors are chasing uniqueness, registry sets, and historical mint anomalies. When two or more serious collectors want the same one-of-a-kind coin, prices can escalate far beyond what the general public expects. That is why this story is so powerful. Because right now, somewhere in your home, there could be a coin that looks identical to millions of others, but might not be identical at all. The difference could be microscopic. A slight misalignment. A doubling effect in the lettering. A strike flaw that escaped quality control. Or a condition so perfect that time itself never had a chance to damage it. And if you are thinking, that sounds too good to be true, remember this. Most valuable coins were once thought to be ordinary. Every rare coin ever discovered was once sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket change. The 2004p dime is especially interesting because it comes from a modern era. People assume modern coins are too new to be valuable, that only old coins from centuries ago matter. But modern mint errors are actually some of the most aggressively collected items today, because they are harder to find in high-grade condition and often escape notice when released into circulation. Think about it. Every day, millions of coins are sorted, spent, lost, and forgotten. Very few people take the time to inspect them carefully. That means rare variations can survive in circulation for years, sometimes decades, waiting for the right person to recognize their value. And that brings us to the most important question. How do you know if you have one? Collectors typically look for signs such as unusual doubling in text or torch details, imperfect alignment, strange surface textures, or anything that feels off compared to a normal dime. Condition is also critical. A coin that looks like it just came from the mint, with no scratches or wear, can multiply in value dramatically compared to a worn example. But here is the truth that shocks most people. Even coins that look perfect to the naked eye can hide rare characteristics that only appear under magnification. That is why professional grading services exist, to verify authenticity, condition, and rarity in a way that the human eye alone cannot always detect. Now imagine this scenario. You check an old collection. You find a small stack of coins. Among them is a 2004p dime. At first, it looks completely normal. Nothing special. Just another piece of change. But then you take a closer look. And suddenly, you notice something unusual. A detail that seems slightly doubled. A shine that looks different. A strike that doesn't quite match the standard design. Your curiosity grows. You compare it. You research it. And slowly, the possibility begins to form in your mind that this ordinary dime might actually be something extraordinary. This is the exact moment where ordinary people become accidental collectors. Because the world of rare coins is not just about knowledge. It is about attention. Those who pay attention find opportunities. Those who don't, spend them without a second thought. And that is why stories like the 2004 P Roosevelt dime continue to spread across collector communities. Because they remind us that value is not always obvious. Sometimes it is hidden in plain sight, passing through hands every single day. Now let's bring this story to its most shocking conclusion. Because after all the research, all the collector discussions, all the rare mint era discoveries, and all the high-end private transactions, the most extraordinary examples of the 2004 P Roosevelt dime have reportedly reached values as high as $80,000. Yes, one small dime. One tiny piece of copper and nickel. A coin originally worth just 10 cents. Transformed by rarity, condition, and collector demand into a five-figure treasure that most people would never expect. And that is what makes this story so unforgettable. Because right now, as you are watching this, there could be coins sitting in jars, drawers, wallets, or old collections that are worth far more than anyone realizes. Coins that look ordinary. Coins that feel insignificant. Coins that people ignore every single day. But as history has shown us again and again, sometimes the most valuable things are the ones everyone overlooks. So the next time you see a dime, don't rush past it. Take a second look. Because you might just be holding a piece of hidden history, and possibly a small fortune waiting to be discovered. And if you enjoyed this story, remember this isn't just about one coin. There are countless others still out there, waiting silently to be found, each with its own secret, each with its own surprise value, and each with the potential to turn an ordinary moment into an extraordinary discovery. Because in the world of rare coins, luck doesn't always come from finding gold. Sometimes, it comes from finding a dime that everyone else ignored.